In the first reading today, St. Paul speaks to us about what is going to happen when we get to heaven. He says, first of all, that when the perfect comes, the imperfect is going to pass away. So in other words, in order to get to heaven, we must spiritually be made perfect. Now, that doesn't mean a sense of perfectionism, because that's a psychological problem, but rather spiritual perfection, meaning that there are no more sins, there are no more imperfections, there's not even any of the effects of sin that remain within us at that point. That's where purgatory comes in, since most of us probably aren't going to be anywhere near perfection when we die. Thankfully, there is purgatory because it is a place of mercy. If we had to be perfect before we died, heaven would not be very well populated. And so in His mercy, God gives us a place where we can be perfected, and then we can enter into heaven. And when we enter into heaven, having been made perfect, St. Paul then says, I will know even as I have been known. In other words, we will be looking right into the very essence of God Himself. And because God is looking into the essence of every single person who is there, because we are looking into the essence of God, we therefore will see right into the essence of every other person. You will not just know who the people in heaven are, you will know the people in heaven. And whether that is including your own spouse and your children, you will know them perfectly. Well, as perfectly as you possibly can, because you're going to look right into their essence. Now, of course, in our natural human level, that sounds a little bit difficult for us. It's like, oh, but if somebody knows everything about me, that's a little scary. It won't be. First of all, remember, you'll be perfected by then. So to be perfected also means you'll have perfect humility. So you're not going to care, because everyone in heaven will love you, and you will love everybody else. No one in heaven is making a judgment about anyone. No one's going to look at you and say, I thought that person did that. I just wasn't certain. No, nobody's going to care. In fact, what will happen is that in heaven, whatever sins we had committed, everybody is going to glorify God that we had repented, that the sin is gone, and that we're in heaven. And that's what we're going to be doing for everyone else. We're simply going to love them. That's exactly what St. Paul talks about. The greatest is charity. Faith, hope, and charity, the three theological virtues. Charity is the only one that's going to continue on in heaven. We will not need faith because we will be there. We will not need hope because there's nothing we're looking forward to. It's fulfilled. And so faith and hope will be gone when we get to heaven. But charity will remain forever. That's why he says the greatest of these is charity. That's why we want to be starting to really work at that in this life. Just simply love people. That can only happen if we really love God, but just love people. That's what we're going to do for eternity. This is supposed to be preparing for eternity. That's what we want to do. In the meantime, it's striving for greater holiness, striving for those virtues to be perfected. That doesn't come easily, but that's what we want to be working towards, so that we're growing in charity, we're growing in humility, we're growing in all the other areas of virtue. Because the holier we can be when we die, the less time we're going to have to spend in purgatory. Plus, remember, the level of your charity is fixed at the moment that you die. You don't grow in charity when you're in purgatory. All you're doing is being purified. But there's no merit, there's no growth. So this is the only time when we're alive in this world. So make the best of it. Make the most of it. By making it the most, that means the most charity. the love of God and love of neighbor, which is what Jesus told us that we have to be about. That's what we're striving for, because that's what heaven is going to be. We will love God as perfectly as we possibly can. We will love everyone else as perfectly as we possibly can. And we will be loved as perfectly as we possibly can. If this life is preparation for that, isn't that then what we should be about? That's what we have to pray for our own selves, to really look at that charity, which of course requires humility, and to be striving for that perfect love, so that when we are called home, the imperfect can be put aside because the perfect has come, to be filled with charity, to know and to love as we are known and loved.